Hello, everybody, and welcome back to First Four or More, or however long we feel to fucking go with it.
Sometimes.
And this is the one where we talk about TV shows, and we are still talking about the Orville because I was highly insistent, and the show keeps getting more interesting.
Yes. As it's been cleared, you've decided to propose to both of us that we should jump on this. We decided to jump on this show, and
Chris is pleasantly delighted. Also, let us know how you feel about Chris's shirt. I'm just curious. Just let us know.
Do you not like my shirt?
I'm not a fan.
What's up with the shirt?
I don't know. I just
Okay, that's exactly the shirt that I'm wearing in blazer form for my Halloween costume tomorrow.
Okay. See?
Going as the Riddler.
See, there you go. You're wearing his Halloween costume casually.
Well, this is more like I feel more
side topic.
But what is your beef with the shirt though?
That's
Nothing.
what I want to know. Like,
I don't know.
This is.
Sometimes.
All right. Do you have any beef with clothing? Let us know in the comments.
My name's HSR.
My name's Chris Chrome.
Sid.
And we are talking about the Orville Season 1, Episode 5, and this one is Pria.
Whoa.
I wrote down the title. That's right. So this episode, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to spoil the whole episode for you and offer opinions along the way of what we liked and what we didn't like, and at the end kind of wrap up and then bounce out and then, record a whole other one. Because that's what we do.
But if you don't really care, you should also go watch the other shows we have done.
You should probably
so you keep
actually
up with how we are feeling about the show and our opinions and comments, because it does tie together.
If you're brand new here and this is the first one you clicked on, you might want to click up there in the corner and go to episode 1 and watch on through, because you kind of want to go sequentially through it. I mean, if only you care about this episode, then feel free to keep watching.
Also, if you haven't seen the Orville yet, probably watch that first, because you're not going to get a great sense of the plot from us.
Because we're kind of in the middle now, and we're not going to really add as much context. We're just going to run through the episode.
Yep.
So how does it start? Because I wrote all the notes down. They open to watching Seinfeld on the bridge. And then it's the episode scene where the mint goes into the body during surgery.
Which, to tell you the truth, that is a classic scene, as I see in a lot of cartoons, actually, and a lot of television. They always go back to older comedy shows for, I don't understand what purpose, but I know that it's very...
Well, Seth MacFarlane does it because he likes to spoof his influences.
Right. So what? He's basically shouting out Seinfeld in a sense.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's just the idea that instead of all the normal serious stuff on the Star Trek bridge, they're just chilling out watching Seinfeld, laughing, and a great. And then it brings up the real key point of that scene: Isaac's confusion over why that's funny.
It's also it's the equivalent of you going back and watching MASH. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It wasn't happening like it was in the past, but it's still a classic. So sometimes you go back to that.
Fair enough.
I don't, but I get what you mean.
Yo, I've seen all of MASH.
I would like to, but it's low priority.
If you want us to do MASH, let us know in the comments just to piss off Holden.
That's a long one.
Do it.
That might take years.
But so Isaac starts off and wants to know what a practical joke is.
Well, it's more like he doesn't understand why the thing is
comedy
funny.
Or humor.
He doesn't understand why that particular joke is funny, because it's basically a hard surgery and this is life-threatening, but everyone's laughing. So he starts asking, and Mercer's kind of trying to explain the joke, and everyone's trying to explain it. So Malloy goes in and just.
The concept of a practical joke is what they're trying
to
explain.
The practical joke,
he challenges him.
See, the practical joke comes a bit later. We're not quite there
yet.
But
the whole thing is he doesn't understand the concept of what a practical joke is.
Or what humor is at this point.
Right.
Seriously, the practical joke scene comes a bit later. Right now, it ends with him trying to, it's just an endless conversation about humor. As they're about to try to explain it, they get interrupted and, summoned off.
You know what I feel? I feel that...
However, they do describe one great scene before we feel with Chris.
Right.
And it's as he's trying to describe why certain things are funny, a guy who falls off a bike and smashes his nuts and funny, and then Borders chimes in here I would agree.
Yeah.
And anyway, I like the Borders part. He's my favorite.
Oh my god.
So I wanted to throw that in. But and then
well, I was gonna say that
I got a distress call to end the scene. Go on, please.
Well, I like how Isaac represents, and now I'm not trying to attack anybody, but I like how they very capture the I would say introverts. In a way, they're very knowledgeable and they don't understand a lot of social norms, which would be humorous or jokes. And I like how they very play upon that. I like how each and every character really is an extreme version of their stereotypical identity.
I get what you're saying, and it makes sense. I never thought about it like that before, but it's an interesting point.
Well, I have a lot to say on this episode. Like, there's a lot that goes on in terms of, I feel like this episode is character development for everybody in terms of how they act, in terms of how they react. Now, again, if you watch the other episodes we've had, there's a lot throughout this show that I feel like some of the characters are not very present, but they're still developing.
But here's the thing, like I've said a couple of times, it takes a minute for like a show with this many central characters to have everybody get jumped up in the plot and be like developed enough to have a personality.
Right.
We're at episode 5 now, and it's about like it's almost at the point. I say episode 6 is the turning point, always where it starts to get good, and we're very close to that point here. Anyway, just to like move on a little bit with the plot, they see a comet flying at a star, and they get a signal from the surface of the comet. There's some ship on there, and it's some girl. And then they find out it's Captain
hold on,
Levesque.
hold on. That moment though, and this is where everything becomes sort of clear about what the episode's going to be about. The minute they figure out it's some girl who's on the ship and she comes up onto the screen.
Girl.
She's a
Charlize Theron girl.
It
is Charlize Theron.
Is that her name?
Is that her?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I always get her mixed up with someone else. She's the same chick from A Million Ways to Die in the West. So now Seth MacFarlane has boned this chick twice on screen. So that's what you can take away from that.
Anyway, we'll get to that point. We'll get to that point.
And then Lamar.
Hold on. This scene though, it's very important because they're putting emphasis on the relationship now. I like to call it because Seth MacFarlane gets up in like a quick stance and he's like enthralled by this woman, and he like lusts for her in a way because she's so attractive, and you can see.
Quite there.
No, right? Yeah, when she comes up on the screen, he like shows up and he's like all happy to see her.
Yeah, but like at the same time, it's more like focused on. He does, but Malloy and Lamar are like, we gotta prioritize this mission because of how hot the girl is.
Well, right.
And then they find out how dangerous it is, and I fucking love the fact that Lamar's like, I'm out, and Malloy's like, oh shit, and like just how like they were willing to go just that far in order to get the girl.
No, wasn't it like you have to do it a certain way? Like they have to
land on this
like a quick thing, and then Lamar was like, oh, I can do it at like 3.5 seconds or something. Like something really crazy.
Like 2 minutes to do it.
You can do it.
They do some macho posturing
because basically everybody knows Malloy is the best. Anyway, and then
we'll question that a little later.
Okay, let's go. Anyway, we'll go on. So then they're in the shuttle because they bounce out on the rescue mission because of course you do. But Kelly right away is like kind of like you can tell she's hesitant.
She's a little shady.
But they really did delve into it later more. So they bounce out on the shuttle and you've got basically Malloy, Alara, and Mercer. And my favorite part, the only thing I really focused on is some idle chatter. He's like, how do you feel about doing this? And he's like, okay. And his like voice cracks. And then he's like, why did your voice crack? It's like, it didn't crack. I'm okay with it.
I'm okay.
Honestly, it's fucking golden.
But I like how they do that. A lot of the time in comedy shows or in cartoons, there's a lot of like high pitched sounds where you can tell that the character is lying or like nervous or something, and they never really catch on.
But
and
like,
then now in
it's
this
the
one,
fact that like Mercer's like, oh my god, I'm now nervous because you are not. Like it's too funny the way it's executed.
But don't forget, they're also best friends. Like as partners and best friends, if you're there like to support me and you're worried, well then I'm definitely worried. You know what I mean? Like I know that's like I shouldn't be worried, but if we're supposed to be a team, it's like. You're worried? No, I'm not worried. No, okay, I'm not worried either. But the minute you're worried, it's like...
It's just, and on that note, their dynamic is really, really... Like, it's a highlight of the show. Watching these two kind of riff off each other, like, it's really cool.
It could be, like, the most unoriginal archetype of a friendship, but he manages to make it so refreshingly entertaining that I could rewatch it, and I have. I've watched every episode more than once before we talked about it, and it's honestly
likes this show.
Funnier the second time than it is the first time, because you're actually...
kind of likes this show the second time.
Yeah,
but you know what? I feel like, I guess for me, because I watched it about a week ago, and then I watched it recently.
Same.
It's like, I even watched it today. On the second time, I was more analytical about things instead of enjoying it more because I knew what was to come, But, and then that made me dive into more of like the psychological nature of how they're acting.
I feel like the first time you watch a show, it's kind of hard to follow it. You just kind of it's new, it's interesting. The second time, you can start to appreciate what was actually good about it, right? And that's kind of what happened to me. Anyway, this one was not as great of an episode, but this scene was amazing.
Well, there was I feel like this was a flop episode.
Then they jump into like the ship. They have 2 minutes. They open the door. He does the pickle jar joke. They rescue the girl. They get back to the shuttle. They get out. They get caught from the gravity of the star. Mercer comes up with the idea of the tractor beam. They get back to the ship. Life is good again. Whoa. I just wanted to like, because it's just all action and no real like. Unless you have something to add there.
No, I mean the main plot of this show is a plot you've seen play out 1,000 times. It's main character runs into girl he knew a long time ago. Well, ex-girlfriend, also main character, doesn't like the girl.
Well, no, it's not somebody he knew a long time ago. He didn't know a long time ago. They just coincidentally.
But it's a very
but they
similar.
knew each other.
Yeah.
No, they didn't.
No, they don't know each other. They kind of grew up in like town cities.
Yeah,
okay, whatever. Anyway, like, point is, it looks like she's jealous. Obviously, other chick is evil, but they're trying to like hide that she's evil, but you know she's going to turn out to be evil. Everyone is kind of hating on main character because they're like, you're just jealous.
I like how they're very open with what the character
plot that we're describing in detail.
Basically, there's a much more important part of this episode that we haven't gotten to yet, and I'm just kind of waiting until we get there.
Because we're getting there.
But like, I like how, I just wanted to say this, I like how the character development is so subtle too, because I noticed this on the second time I watched it. When they're saving the girl from the wreckage, she says it, whoa, don't hurt the merchandise. And I was thinking the first time around, I was like, what?
It's a weird line. Like, why would you say that?
What merchandise, you know? And then the next time I was like,
that.
it's the actual ship that she's on. And that if when you catch that and you know, we'll get to it.
You don't know why that's important.
Well, hopefully you've watched the damn episode and we're not. Well, actually, if you haven't watched the episode and we're just like giving you the story, can you let us know in the comments? Because I think that'd be pretty
exciting
cool.
for you. Let us know below.
I want you to let us know if you could make like any coherent sense out of what we're saying. Like, if you got any semblance of the plot.
Like, if you were to close your eyes and listen to us talk.
No, we've
like,
got
not just this episode, though. Go back.
On one of the Orville episodes, so we're coherent. Somebody was like, they were like, we like the fact that you were 3 guys arguing on a couch about shit. Anyway, I hope that you also like that, because that's what this channel pretty much has turned into so far.
Yeah, people bitching on a couch.
So basically then they go back onto the ship. The doctor's with the girl, and she kind of describes how she ran into a Krill cruiser and hit in a comment. Yeah. And this is where Mercer lights up and is super cordial.
I want to comment on that
Make sure he's not in the hamster room, which was funny.
I want to comment on that as well. Before all that, again, they're so obvious with how they do the things. And I don't know if it's because Seth MacFarlane wants this, but it's like,
yes,
the doctor asked this girl like how she was fine. And it's a lot of like, well, you know, and it's so obvious that you're lying, that you're making up a thing, and I'm just like, is that cliche? Because I've noticed that a lot. I never get this straight. Like,
this episode was
no. Like, I've mapped
it's very important for the central theme of what's happening here, right? Because at the end we'll get to the crux of why the episode's important for character development. But basically, what's happening here is Mercer is like, oh my god, she's hot, and he's not really paying attention to the obvious shit. Kelly's like, come on, there's some obvious shit. And he's been, anyway, as he develops the plot, they go really into this stereotype. But I think that this entire show,
it feels almost like the plot of like a Flintstones episode,
a little bit,
like the Jetsons,
like, look,
some classic.
You know,
like, kids
I want
to
try to defend it, but you're right. Honestly, I watched it again, and I felt like this is not the greatest episode, but as Chris was mentioning, it's mad important for what happens next.
There is another thing. I do want to make another little comment though, because you brought up the Krill, and I like how they're kind of sprinkling them as the main like backstage villains. Like you don't see them that often, but they're just kind of there, like lurking in the shadows.
And then, anyway, they basically they give her a nicer room because the first room smelled like hamster. They all of a sudden he's hosting a cocktail bar.
I found that funny too. What does he say? Does he say the senior officers or the bridge officers?
The senior officers are having a cocktail thingy in my quarters. I'm setting it up or whatever.
But everyone's there. Like, everyone from the bridge is there. Are they all senior officers?
Yes.
Oh, I wasn't aware of that.
His bridge crew is the senior officers, and then there's backup crews that would take over when they're sleeping, who are secondary officers in those roles.
I believe it's like that on Star Trek too.
It's absolutely like that on Star Trek. That's why I felt so confident in my answer. So
because
then
this
you
show
can see
is
the
Star
joy
Trek.
on his face.
I love Star Trek a lot. I even enjoy Discovery.
If we haven't made it clear yet, this show is Star Trek.
Yeah. So then on the bridge, he gets he's about to get it up. So then they're on the bridge, and he's like about to like bounce out to like take care of the cocktail party. That's all about gonna happen.
Right.
I'm gonna take off. She's like, okay.
And then Malloy's like, wait, no, hold on, wait.
Hold on, wait.
I think you want to see this. And then this is where the practical joke is introduced. And
man, your deliveries just build up. Like Isaac walks in with the Mr. Potato Head on his shit, and he's just unaware of it. And honestly, this is the first spoiler plot point I saw that was really interesting. Because Isaac tells them, like, in the middle of this, they discuss the practical joke, which you can go on about in a minute. But Isaac's like, oh, I guess my advanced technology didn't perceive this as, like, low-end tech is whatever. So
like, he didn't perceive it as a threat.
As a threat, yeah.
So it just passed.
And that's relevant to later on, too. So, yeah, I admit that they were kind of like... But I think maybe they were just throwing it in our faces a little bit to laugh at us, too. Because they were not trying to make this anything complex, right?
Well, hold on.
In that regard. In terms of that foreshadowing. Anyway, so yes, they explain the practical jokes. Go on.
Well, the practical joke simply, Malloy put Mr. Potato Head pieces, which on his face. And
on the robot's face.
On the robot's face, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's just cool how, like, he had, and like we said, he has no acknowledgement of it.
The robot.
Like, he
just kind of walks in.
Isaac.
Isaac. Lamar asked Isaac, he was like, how can you see with that stuff on your face? And he's like, my eyes are just for
aesthetic.
Yeah, they're just for view. Like,
and like you can see how like Alara doesn't want to tell him, and she kind of is like, you're kind of smiley. Anyway.
And again, he's a robot, right? So he's not like offended or anything. He's just kind of like, oh, there's this stuff on my face.
You can see like Mercer is a little bit like, you don't want to do this, but fine, he lets it go.
Yeah, and he's like, he really wants to understand what a practical joke is.
Right, but this is where
Malloy breaks it down, all these criteria for what makes a practical joke.
And he basically says you have to get him when you're not aware of it. And it has to be funny, like it has to be entertaining,
unexpected, unpleasant,
and creative. Yeah. And that was like it's unexpected and creative, and that's two of the main points that Isaac takes like super literally.
Are we getting there? Is it the next scene?
No, next up.
This is my favorite part of the episode.
No, we're gonna get there. I'll tell you when.
Hype.
Over to the cocktail scene. Because now we're in the cocktail scene. Yeah,
we just checked out a little pump video.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
You know what? We're going to have a general conversation on the music nowadays. I think we should have a critical look into today's music.
Don't bring these up right now. We're talking about this now. Freaking Chris, man.
Star Trek. It was my fault.
Over to the Yeah, but what you do is funny. Over to the cocktail scene. Nice. We hear about the Vega Consortium. She's describing the risky stories and how they have to show their genitals to start negotiations. Malloy drops this lame one-liner about, like, I don't remember. It was really lame.
Right.
Nobody laughs. Mercer and the captain come from the same area and both had this bonding moment because both their parents dragged them to the Salem Museum where they both had nightmares over the same hologram. And Kelly's like, you never told me that. And he's kind of like, yeah, this is like a weirdly specific, odd, you had to be there moment thing. And that created the initial bondings where all of a sudden they were like, oh.
And there's like jealousy and blah, blah, blah.
And then we from there, we go back to his room after the party, and like Pria shows up. That's when we learn her first name, and she's kind of flirty. He's clearly smitten. He does the stupidest banter ever. It was worse than the other party.
With the Jello
She wants the D. He wants her to take the D. I'm just reading this as I wrote it. She does the cheek kiss thing from some class. He's all like cordial still and honorable. Honestly, Jean-Luc Picard up in this bitch. And that is kind of how he approached it. She kisses him on the cheek, leaves the room. And seriously, it's all these small little scenes. And I think that's kind of what made this episode a little hard, is because the other ones were better paced with less happening per se. And this one, then all of a sudden, we cut over to Kelly looking at Pria Levesque. And she's not in there. And then we're in the fucking engine room.
I like how she's a character that you have to recite her whole name every time. Like, it's not Pria, it's not Levesque, it's Pria Levesque.
I don't know, that's how I wrote it. And then we cut over to the engine room, and she's getting his, like, he's kind of, like, flossing on the ship, like, this is so cool. Hold on. Then the engineer makes an old-timey sexist joke, and the blob guy that you're in love with.
Fucking Norm Macdonald.
He shows up and makes other inappropriate comments, but he's smooth about it, and she reacts proper, so she got attitude.
We kind of jumped a little bit quickly. The reason why we cut over, because you kind of skipped over the scene.
Now you can fill in the blanks.
The reason why we cut over to Kelly right after the scene with Mercer and Pria was because Kelly was... the whole party scene, there's where while Priya's explaining where she's come from, she's talking about mines and how she was in the mining field for like a year and blah blah blah. So Kelly had this. Kelly is the co-captain there.
We'll call her Jelly Kelly for this episode.
Jelly Kelly.
Honestly, I made several of those puns in my notes.
She basically turns around and is looking up on her computer to find the
Feel free to drop
the manifesto or the people on the list who work for these mining.
This is my script now. Yeah, see, we're so rude. We're having side conversation.
Yeah,
like
but he's
we're
explaining
off
the
camera.
plot. They don't care about us.
Long story short,
apologize.
Kelly doesn't believe that
Jelly Kelly.
Pria is on the... Well, Priya's bullshit story about the mining fields. And then we cut to the scene where they're in the engine room. Mercer's showing Pria everything. Yep. Kelly shows up and goes, Mercer, we need to talk. And
she kind of warns him she don't work there.
Yeah, and then, of course,
he's
right
like,
away...
relax yourself.
Are you surprised to hear that?
She's like, I know what's up. That's how I wrote it.
Just go. Just make
classic
make
assumption
it so
of jealousy
then.
and shit. It's mad nice to see this textbook shit.
Right.
That's what. No, really, it's a great scene. You're right. It plays out where it's again super textbook, right? And I think it's kind of why I think he was trying to be really obvious with this ultimately because when you're watching the scene play out and how smitten he is with this girl and how his judgment's kind of skewed.
But I want to talk about that.
And the part where they're in the middle of it kind of bring up listen, you're my ex-wife now. You know, you can't have this claim over me. You're ridiculous. I don't actually care.
But you know what? I think I don't think he's smitten in terms of. Maybe I don't know what the meaning of smitten is. And that's my fault.
He's crushing on her.
Okay, fine. He might be crushing on her, but I don't think he's crushing on her because he feels like he's crushing on her. I think he's doing it out of anger. I think he's still mad at his ex that this is I feel like this is an easy way to kind of get to her.
Maybe smitten is not... Because smitten means yo, I'm straight up in love right now.
I can see that, but you see it starting to happen.
You do see, he likes her, but you also kind of see that he is thinking objectively because none of the rest of the crew, they're all fooled, right? Mm-hmm. Everyone except Kelly, for reasons obvious to the fact that this is not a new story.
Hashtag Kelly Jelly.
Jelly Kelly.
Jelly Kelly, fuck.
But she's the only one who sees through this bullshit, and that's part and parcel for the plot because they have to do that. They have to play off the whole divorce. They have to play off the whole whatever.
But it's... I'm just saying, the way they deliver it, as much as it's blatant and not necessarily original, it's well executed and super relatable. It's
the thing.
It's as relatable as The Office. That's how, I really like The Office. I find it highly relatable, especially because I work in an office. And it's as relatable as that, is all I'm trying to say. Because I can't say I've been married and divorced in that, but I've had weird ex-girlfriend moments like that, and it's relatable.
I'm going to bring up The Office as much as humanly possible now. Okay. Because that was the most random comparison. It's going to happen all the time now.
Anyway, so then Alara and Kelly are in the next room. And she's kind of like, yo, let's be ladies, as in, listen, you know what's up. You can see how the captain's being things. You're my girl.
The googly eyes.
Yeah, the
googly eyes.
There you go. That's
but
what they're doing.
You see,
that's smitten.
So to break down this scene, because he seems to just be running off like a mother.
I know, it's giving you material to work with, sir. Sheesh.
Kelly's now in Alara's room, and Kelly's basically like Holden said, yo, let's be women, let's figure this out. You know this is a bullshit story. You know this is a lie. Well, ladies, women, same thing. And Alara's a little bit scared. Now, I don't think...
It's because she's basically... She's like, listen, I need you to give us a reason to break into a room, search for anything that's not there. She's like, is this an order? She's like, no, it's a request. It's friends.
But I don't know if she's scared to do it as a kid, or she's scared to do it because it's wrong.
But she also doesn't think there's anything really wrong.
Yeah, so it's a matter of
a little naive
humor.
Pria Levesque?
Yeah, Pria Levesque. Pria Levesque, I don't know, it's fucking weird. And then,
nice.
Exactement, Sapelska. Anyway, we live in Montreal. That's what we're trying to say there.
MTL 514.
And there's a René Levesque Street, and it's spelled the same way.
Go on.
So yeah, anyway, and then basically it's like she wants to make sure it isn't about Kelly being jelly, but Kelly is like, even if I'm jelly, this is what's up, right? And I'm a professional, so my jealousy doesn't matter because I'm a pro and I can segregate it, which is true. And I respect that because it was pretty apt. Then we cut to the chackiest, because it's important to say I'm a pro. She's like, because I'm a pro. The next scene is housekeeping, because she's banging on the door. And Kelly's there, and then they're like, okay. And then they go into the room, and they're snooping. They find a block. It's impenetrable. They get caught. Alara is just so bait about the situation, while Kelly's a bit more OG.
Yep.
And we get the ominous look that that Pria Levesque is an evil person, because this is the first time it's gotten super blatant.
God.
It's just this cut scene, and she's standing on the wall,
And it's just
you get
like...
this whole side shot like this.
I couldn't handle that scene. I couldn't handle that shot.
God.
I was like, what year is this?
Yeah, this was bad. I'm not gonna lie. Sorry, Seth, that sucked.
Yeah.
That part. The rest of the scene was okay, because it really established Alara as not being OG, while Kelly's kind of OG. I like the fact that we learned Kelly can lie like a motherfucker in this moment, if we haven't already established that.
Character development.
Anyway, so then we're in Mercer's office again, because there's just so many freaking little scenes, and Mercer's just chewing them out because of what happened, because they basically try to bring it to him, and then he chews them out because...
I like when he's like, what, you think you're going to find her diary? No, we didn't find that yet.
Yeah, and then they're like, we found a block. He's like, what? Is that
oh, great, you found a fucking rectangle.
He found a rectangle.
Yeah.
Do you want me to raise the red alarm? Oh, it could be a belt buckle. And it was like, honestly.
But you can see, but you know what? You could see the minute he said belt buckle, Alara's face. I mean, given that Kelly's the ex-wife, she's kind of used to his pandering crap and all that stuff. But for Alara, she was like, what if it really was a belt buckle? Like, just think about it. How stupid would you feel when you think this highly encrypted thing is just...
And then,
but what if it's a nuclear belt buckle?
And then Alara gets a reprimand on her file for this because she complied, and it wasn't in order.
You know what? I just want to say we all know that has been removed.
Oh, and it's also it's also worth noting that Kelly was willing to take the fall and claim it was ordered, and Alara was so honest. She said, "That's not true. I did it of my own volition."
But I think that's why Alara was still. And I noticed this as well. And this happens with a lot of people. And I think this is very relatable. People like to take the fall in hopes that if they're taking the fall with their honesty, they're not going to get punished. And I saw that in Alara's face and her expression that when she took the fall and she got that reprimandment, it was like, I took it for nothing now.
But I've really enjoyed, again, watching Alara try and be like this second in command type of character, or third in command, or whatever she is.
Right.
But like grow into responsibility as a really young and also kind of
honestly,
different, because she's really like strong and really like.
I can say that I can remember the moments at work where that happened to me and having to like learn those lessons.
Yeah, it's just like The Office.
Yeah, because I work in an office.
Here we go.
I can't talk about a lot of that, but I do work in an office. And then we cut over
just like
to
the characters of The Office.
So then they're in this like thing, and the ship's all rattling around, and they're like, "What the fuck? We don't know what's going on." And then Pria shows up, and she's like, "Do this, do that."
Okay, oh my god.
Because all that's happened is the ship's rattling around and they don't know what's attacking it.
No, that's not true. The ship starts rattling and everybody starts freaking, and then in between the freaking and before Pria shows up, because it's very cliche, oh my god, guys, we're in a dark matter storm.
Yeah.
So suddenly they're in this dark matter storm, which I want to point out looks like Seth MacFarlane took the little ship toy, put it in a tank with bubbles, and just went, dark matter storm.
Yeah, but to be fair, because you spoiled it a little bit, what happens is they don't know what's happening. Pria says, "I know what's happening. It's a dark matter storm here. You got to do this shit." Isaac goes, "Wait a second, that's plausible."
Malloy figures it out. Malloy figures it out, and then
she comes in and she's like, "Yo, I can save you."
I can save you. That's the cliche part. Oh my god, I don't know how to. Malloy goes, "Oh, I don't know how to fly out of this. This is out of my pay grade," and stuff like that.
And then she's like, "I can do it."
Yeah, but you see her run in like the whole the hair's in the wind, and it's like, but there's no slow mo. It's really just quick pace.
The ship gets out, it's damaged, and lo and behold, communications just happens to be down, meaning they can't contact no one. Shit's all fucked up, and it's bad news.
Although I want to make a point. I want to make a point on this. If Malloy, now this is a call out on Malloy's character. If he's the best, I'm calling him out. If he's the best pilot on the fleet, on the squad, or whatever in the Union, then it would have been a little smarter, in my opinion, to just be like, well, you know what? If we don't trust you, well, I get the whole part where like Mercer is smitten with her, but I would have just been like, tell Malloy how to get out of here if he can fly it.
Yeah, but again,
like, to be fair,
they had to push this plot. They had to put the moment of like, now we can trust her. You know what I mean?
This might be the first time he's ever been in a storm like this, and most people die in storms like this, so they don't know how to win.
Right, but if he's supposed to be a really great pilot, technically he should be able to know the
he's able to
maneuvers and the codes if she tells him how to do something.
But it's based on understanding how to fly through that environment.
I mean, look, they had to manufacture the situation because it's a plot point of this kind of story.
I'm saying it's not that implausible that he gave up control because he recognized as a great pilot that he didn't have the skill to accomplish the mission.
Okay.
I'm still with you because, again, I brought this up on previous episodes that, like, they do tend to just kind of put things in just because this is what needs to happen to move the story
and this
forward.
episode is completely full of that. I'm not saying it's not that. I'm saying that the logic behind it makes sense.
The logic behind it makes sense in this like manufactured moment.
Fair.
It's just not a great moment. It's just it's there, but the science, etc. behind it, the reasoning, I'm okay with it. Then he's like, basically they lay it out proper with, now we can trust her more than ever because it's obviously to establish her trust. And it's like, I want to take you somewhere. After they get the coordinates to go, okay, so the ship's damaged, and he gives the coordinates to some minor place that's nearby instead of the starbase because it's all out of the way.
Hold on. When Mercer tells Pria that he wants to take her somewhere, they go to the holodeck.
That happens after the context I almost skipped over because you've been accusing me the whole episode of rushing. I was like, okay, I'm going to hold back. Before they go to the holodeck, she has to give the coordinates to the dude because it's while she's giving the coordinates to the dude.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, fine.
Ultimately, what I'm trying to say here is they're establishing here, because it's a key plot point, that instead of doing the proper thing and going to Star Trek and the delay that's created, because you guys all pointed out how obvious and lame it is, they did another lame move and made it like, oh, you have to go to these coordinates. Oh, so fucking convenient and all of that shit.
No communication.
Yeah, ultimately they moved along over. Then he invites her to the holodeck, and they're sitting there, and they have a moment. And he's like, I haven't really trusted anyone in a long time. I think we should take this slow. Jump ahead to in the bedroom. Look, I'm glossing over. It's so cliche. There's nothing to add. Then they have pillow talk, where he's like, I haven't fucked anyone in the last year or whatever.
He basically says that her sex game was blue chip.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. That
blue
Action
chip
Bronson
is like a
album.
Blue chip is I think it's like a
I don't know
a coin, like a grade A coin. Like it's a
like he gives her an A+.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the highest color in gambling?
Actually, there's a really interesting point in this.
We always had the black chip in our games.
Anyway, there's an interesting point that gets brought up in this pillow talk, and that's that even if because he's like, he's owning his failures in the relationship at this point, and her response to him is kind of like, you know what, even if that's true, she could have divorced you, she didn't have to cheat. And that was worth mentioning because it was a seriously interesting theme that gets brought up. And as much as all these things are super corny, it's those little nuggets in between that make you think, that make the show particularly interesting. And then we get to the moment that Syd has been fucking waiting for. Malloy wakes up without a leg.
It's like, it's the perfect prank. Like, you know, as soon as he wakes up, he's like, wait, what the fuck? Where's my leg? Like, you know that this is Isaac, who has understood humor to such a level that this is the best thing he could have done for payback.
And it gets better. So
wait. Then we cut to the bridge. Kelly's being paranoid. And
the main plot happens.
Turns out Isaac's retaliation. Malloy starts yelling. Isaac lays out, and basically it's
so perfect because he describes exactly what a prank is, and it's just like point for point. Yes, this is the perfect prank. You amputated his leg while he's asleep, and he hit it too, right?
Yeah.
And basically then everything's good, but then Mercer's about to explain why the joke is funny, and then they're pulled to engineering. And they're gonna like fucking grow his leg back, that too. So he goes in and he's out because his leg is about to get regrown.
Because again, this is a sci-fi universe, right? So it's not like his leg is gone forever. Like they have the science to fairly easily reattach this. So that's why it's so perfect.
And then they cut to engineering, where they find the belt buckle / potential brick that was bad wedged into engineering. They don't know what it does. Alara gets summoned. They go to the corridors of Pria. They confront her. Turns out she's from the 29th century. And then basically they were all supposed to die in that dark matter storm.
But she saved them.
Because
why?
she wants to take the ship and sell it to some collector. And then they're all going to get stranded there. The people aren't that important. So, and then...
I need to elaborate on
hold
that
on.
plan.
As that happens, the leg falls down in the middle of the room just to obstruct the scene.
Right, perfect, so perfect. But so the plan, which is actually the coolest part of this whole main story, is basically in the future there's this business of going back into the past, saving dying ships, like knowing the moments that their crew is going to die and the ship is going to get destroyed, saving them, but then bringing them into the future to pawn these ships off. And the crews of the ships just kind of get stuck in the future. Like, they don't die. It's not that nefarious. It's just like...
What's really interesting is Amelia Earhart's apparently one of these people.
Yeah.
And like, they kind of allude to it.
That's a cute little joke.
Then, I don't know, Kelly and Alara leave. She's like, a guard's not going to matter. She calls him out on fucking. She's like, yeah, you fucked me. And then she's like, it's like, whatever. You can just see it was really funny. She made sure to bring that up. He's like... it's a lie. It's all a lie. Cliche shit. She's like, no, I was doing you a favor. Life is whatever. And she's like, I still want to date you in the future. He's like, I feel betrayed. And then he says, go to hell. And she's like, what does that mean?
I don't get it.
I don't get that. Is that a thing? And he's like, yeah, it's an expression. She's like, I've never heard it before. He's like, yeah, it's really bad. Go. that was a classic moment of that scene. Anyway, I don't know if anyone has more to throw in here. Nope. Okay. Nah. Mercer and Kelly kind of like, you have a moment. Oh.
Well, he then
Mercer
runs
and Kelly
out after Kelly, and then he's like,
I
apologize, you're right, I'm sorry.
Then they bring up temporal law, which is a really cool nod to Star Trek, and they're really on point and A-game with everything they discuss about temporal law, and I thought it was
based
cool.
on Star Trek mythology.
Well, just based on the idea of temporal law being with multiple timelines. I don't know if it's just Star Trek, but it's they're basically... In this given timeline, the idea is when temporal law is brought into question, the idea is to maintain and preserve the timeline at all costs. So because the ship was supposed to die, by their existence, they are going to change the future unless things go along in a certain way. And they're kind of just bringing up the ramifications of temporal law a little bit in that moment.
So is it the kind of theory where, like, once something changes, it branches off into two different timelines, or it just fucks up this timeline?
So yeah, like this future no longer exists, and then that future is now what exists. Now, there are parallel universes in Star Trek, kind of like Rick and Morty, but it's not like the parallel thing. Anyway, that's a whole other conversation.
I was thinking more like Dragon Ball.
I don't know enough about Dragon Ball.
Like, when Future Trunks comes back... Basically, his world has been destroyed. He comes back to save the world, but he's like, if I save this world, my world is still destroyed. I'm creating a new timeline where this world is saved. So there's like multiple timelines. So in that
thing, his world would be, like, his original world would no longer exist, and neither would he.
Okay, no, but like he still exists.
Yeah,
it's just,
so it's a different
he changed
time.
Nothing.
Anyway, so then he's like, I have an idea. And he goes over and he shoots the fucking block and it doesn't work. And then engineer guy brings out the drill and he starts drilling through.
But it's just so
and
funny
it's a nod back to like what happened with Isaac on the bridge, because you're like, oh right, primitive technology is gonna save the day. Yeah, that was it's weird that
motherfucker.
That's the fucking weird foreshadowing I found.
Duct tape forever.
What?
Hashtag red green life.
And then he drills through. Isaac does his robot shit and then he goes, and he gets like flowing back. And he disappears, and everyone thinks he's dead. And it's really funny because you got this engineer guy like owing over him, like the doctor would be doing, and he's like, he's dead. And I just thought it was so well played because it's the fact that it's the engineer and the robot, and they have the exact same moment. I enjoyed that. I wrote well played. Then Malloy and Isaac are lying in bed next to each other in the med bay.
Malloy gets all emotional.
And then he because the engineer died and the doctor like, I know how to fix it. I don't know how to fix it. Let's go try something. Malloy's like, I just need you to know, I was thinking about it, and that was the best practical joke ever.
Super honest. He's like, I was really mad. I lost my leg, but look, man, mad respect, basically. And it's such a sincere, honest moment.
And it's everything Syd said earlier, more or less. And then in the middle of this, he gets summoned to the bridge. He's like, are you kidding me? And he's like, yeah, I need you here now. So then he like hobbles in with his half a leg. They get to the wormhole. They teleport in. He tries to appeal to her empathy, and
Well,
she's like, y'all are
okay.
dead. If I let you go, I fuck with the timeline.
Okay, she
Paraphrased.
teleports in because they're entering to the wormhole.
Yeah, but
A
this
lot of
conversation
little
about the
chitter-chatter.
time... No, that's the chitter-chatter. Is about, like...
No, because at the same
chitter-
time, right before they go in, there's also a comment between where
Yeah, skip that
Pria openly admits that Seth MacFarlane explained to her about his wife cheating. There was that whole battle thing there.
No, that comes a bit later, because it's in the next paragraph in my notes.
Is it?
Yeah, buddy.
Okay, my bad.
So in this case, he's trying to appeal to her empathy, like, listen, all these people here. She's like, look, y'all are dead, and if I let you live, I'm going to fuck up my timeline, and I can't do that. Then they go through the wormhole, and there's a huge ship raiding. They contact him. There's some weird alien. It's the creature. There's some price negotiation because the ship's damaged. She's unhappy with the price. Then we find out Isaac's in the computer because he makes a comment about mints, which is what the Seinfeld episode, blah, blah, blah. Then they take the computer back through violence. Kelly beats the shit out the woman, obviously.
Super
they go
cathartic.
back through the wormhole. This is kind of interloped over each other. They modulate their frequency to escape a tractor beam.
Which looks exactly like the tractor beam from Spaceballs.
Mm-hmm.
Like, point for point, 30 years later, same technology.
And then they arrive, and then they bring up the cheating.
Right, because she kicks her ass. I guess it was just a way to, like, get back at her after Kelly beat her up.
And then she brings up the cheater line
But
as
he's
they're
like-
taking her away.
I
And he's
found it
like,
funny 'cause-
I didn't do it.
I didn't do it. She's
Like,
from the
are
future.
you
She
si-
knows.
But,
Yeah, I
but it's
told
the
her.
past. Yeah, there's like, yeah, I told her. And it's amazing because you see, it's like, I've had that moment too where I've like lied for a minute and then realized I can't get away with this shit no more, and I admitted it right away. And it's the best thing to do, boys. Once you've told that first lie, don't tell the second and third. Just admit it because it's easier in the long run.
Relationship advice from behind that suit.
Absolutely. I mean, Bonnie's lives here, so yes.
Bonnie does
Go
live here.
on.
So anyway, then they find he's not. They find out. They take her back to the brig. They find out whatever. Malloy goes back and gets his leg done. Kelly and Mercer have a bonding moment. Then they're back. Then they bring Pria into Mercer's office.
Pria Levesque.
Yep. They have some closing moment. She justifies how, like, she never apologizes, and that's he's like, because you know what? I know you never cared. You never apologized. She's like, look, I never apologize. It's the way I live life. And then
She's also kind of like, look, I know whatever, but I saved your life, bitch.
And then he's kind of like, and here's the thing. You changed the timeline. You're to blame. You can't put that on us. And he points out that destroying the wormhole is the only way to ensure that their timelines never cross, because then she can never have gone back. And she's like, but then we'd never have met, and you'd go back to a broken man who never had gotten over your life, which is interesting because it implies that all of this growth that Mercer had is just going to be undone at the end of the episode, but maybe
you
not.
know what? It's not undone because the experience
know.
is still there. The life
But
lesson's
the fact
still
is
there.
he's willing to make that choice because
But-
it's that knowing that might be the consequence.
I
Now-
like where he touched upon the fact that he made her realize, because I don't think she's ever realized, and I don't know if you guys saw it, because these actors that he picks, dude, they're really good on conveying certain like eye emotions and facial emotions. Because when he turned around and he kind of threw it in her face that Pria was the one who changed the timeline, you sit back and think, you're like, technically you all were supposed to die, and because they didn't technically die, she changed that.
I just said that.
No, but that's where and she realized that, though. That's my point. She actually opened up her eyes and went, she's been screwing herself over in terms of different timelines, because at the end of the day, she's trying to play on the fact that she saved somebody when in reality,
I think what
no,
she was
you
trying to do
changed it.
is like what anyway. She's like, be grateful I saved your life. He's like, whatever, you put us in a bad anyway, whatever. And then she basically decides to blow up the wormhole, ending their relationship, and then showing
she rooting
real
for them?
maturity and captain-like ship as she disappears, and the episode kind of fades out. And I was left with, you know what? My feelings as the episode went in the middle were a lot like Syd's. But like when the episode completed and I kind of understood, right, this is a filler episode, but it wasn't an aimless filler episode. It moved the plot along. It moved the character development along. You get to know and Boris is like in the background for the first time in ages.
Which is upsetting to me.
I know, but
Really?
but
No,
and
I'm
then
kidding. But at the same time,
like,
as
it's
Boris,
important, right? Because it's like they're
Almost
giving
Boris.
Kelly more of an opportunity to grow as
hold on.
anyway.
We forgot to talk about one quick thing
What?
before we end this entire episode. This whole episode starts with Alara explaining, and this is something
Starts
we
with
didn't.
Star Trek. Oh, you're
Yeah,
right.
we didn't even
They
talk
broke
about the
up.
beginning, guys.
The girl broke up.
Okay,
Chris
so-
was wrong in
so-
the other episode. They break up now.
Wait, who broke up?
Yeah, well, no. They weren't wrong. They did break up in the older episode. She's just being questioned now by the entire squad, not just
Okay.
Kelly alone. Relax
It's
yourself.
just that she starts it off saying, "Did
So-
you finally do it?" And she goes, "Yeah, I finally did it. So I'm gonna disagree with your assessment."
No,
of the
why?
situation.
No. The question was, why did you finally do it? It wasn't did
Exactly.
you. It was why did you finally do it? Still alluding to the fact that they
'Cause
weren't.
I'm pretty
Guys,
sure-
Stafu for a second. I don't remember who broke up.
Oh,
Alara
and
has
the
a
guy who was
boyfriend who
jealous
wants to not
that-
be with her.
Okay.
But there's a conversation between Alara and Kelly in the last episode where they're on the
alludes
planet,
that
farm planet.
Because
there.
to me, it alludes that on the farm
Yeah.
planet that they were having trouble, and she was like kind of unhappy.
I can see that.
Anyway,
Anyway,
it's
the point
such a
This is
nothing.
they're
probably
over,
gonna be a
and,
plot
and
point.
just to bring up, because we were talking about Bortis, that's the only reason why.
When she crushes on
Bortis
Mercer, calling it.
Bortis
Think?
can eat glass.
Oh,
Bortis
yeah!
can
We
eat
Oh my
forgot
god, he
that.
can eat anything. Yes,
Oh,
this is a
how
good
did we
scene.
forget that?
That's what I was,
Yeah.
because you were like, I miss Bortis, and I'm like, but doesn't he?
You're right. There was some
So,
pretty classic.
I just
want
want to, so.
And then
the
my favorite
Mocklin-
part of that scene, right? So okay, so yeah, say it.
So the Mocklin have this developed type stomach where they can eat almost like
Everything.
any, like
and like a
almost
really
everything.
strong palate as
So
well.
what
So they
happens
can
is,
chew on glass.
and this is how
Yeah.
it goes. Bortis walks up and he's like, "What are you eating, Malloy?" And Malloy is like, "Oh, I'm having sushi. You know, American typical, blah 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 blah." And then he turns around and he takes the full fucking cube of wasabi and
Wow. And just like nothing. Just
like no
That
no
was quite
reaction.
pleasurable.
And it's funny because Alara, who's supposed to be this like superhuman,
She freaks
right?
out.
She freaks out. She's like, if I even
Everyone's
had half of
freaking
that, I'd
out.
be crying
Yeah.
and puking. Like,
yeah, but she's,
and then they're like,
she's-
they're like, what? Sorry, you wanna?
I was just gonna say, well, to be fair, eating and having gravitational differences are not the same.
no, I
thing.
know, but just the fact that she's like more
Yeah, I get
powerful than all
It's
of them.
not powerful, is what I'm saying.
Anyway, so then the scene continues. They're like, Bortis, what else can you eat? And he's like, I don't
Here,
know.
eat this napkin.
And
So
yeah.
he takes a
eat
bite of
this,
the napkin.
eat
Like,
this glass.
eat this
Eat
glass.
this
And he's-
cactus.
Eat this cactus.
The thing is, it's the like he looks at it like just kind of mildly considers it, just like,
Okay.
and then just kind of takes a bite out of it like it's an apple.
But you know what I
Like,
want to admit? You know what
every
I want to
time.
think though?
My
I
favorite
found
part-
Alara. I didn't think Alara's part was accurate because when Malloy gave Bortis the cactus, Alara was like, "No, he's gonna hurt himself," and then he ate the cactus. But then she goes on to try to prove something where she's like, "Okay, fine, eat this glass."
I mean, she was finally convinced. Holy shit!
I don't
wanted to
think she
one-up
was
it.
convinced. I think she was trying
Oh
to prove
my-
a
I
point,
think
but I
you're
was like,
reading
"Why are
way-
you proving a point after he ate a cactus?"
Because once she realized, holy shit, he wasn't lying, they all started trying to one-up it and see what kind of crazy shit. You know why I know this? Because what Malloy and Lamar are going is, oh my god, this is a new thing. This is a new trope we're going to play on. This is something you're going to see again. So obviously it was just to re-emphasize the fact that this is the new trope we're playing on for Bortis' character, thus
So-
invalidating your weird
But
concern.
do you really think that's going to be a legit thing? Like,
Probably.
You think that's like?
I think
like
there's
they're not just
such-
making it as like a joke.
I think that you're going to see little cutscenes of Bortis eating weird shit, yeah?
Well,
So-
did you see him eat the jelly? He's like,
Okay, the thing to take away from this episode and to reply in the comments, do you know someone who can eat a cactus?
Yep.
Send us a video. We
Please.
need to know, was it in an
if
office?
you can eat glass, I mean,
Did
was
Michael
Steve
Scott
Carell
show
there?
up?
Yeah.
On that note, what did you guys think of this episode? I personally want to keep watching the show, even if it was a bit of a weaker one. You guys,
I
like-
think, go.
I'll watch it if there's nothing else to watch.
and you?
I'm gonna definitely dive into it and continue watching it.
Okay.
I think that some
So
of these
thank y'all for
episodes
watching.
are meant to be watched over again. Whatever, I'll talk more on the next
Thank y'all
episode.
for watching. If you like the channel,
Hit the
video,
comments below.
hit the
Let us
like
know what you
button.
think. Contact
Please
us on all
subscribe
our
for
social
more.
media stuff. Hit the subscribe button. I'm
Oh
doing
my
it better
God.
than him. Goodbye, guys.
No, you're cutting it too quick. And then if you want to see anything in particular, feel free to recommend the shows you'd like to see us in the future.
For example, all 11 seasons of MASH.
Exactly. Or Westworld, because that was cool.
Yeah,
Oh,
Westworld
dude,
was
I
cool.
can get on Westworld.
Anyway,
There's no
have
Hawkeye in Westworld.
relax yourself. On that
There's no
note,
what?
peace.